Hi everyone, my name is Annie Blicklen. I'm in Bangkok with Dr. Sean Case, CEO and President Valeura Energy. Hi Sean.
Hi Annie, I'm pleased to be here and Suksan San Sokran, Mon Sokran.
Yeah.
Yes, happy Thai New Year.
Sean, Valeura has announced some big news over the past 6 weeks. The year-end 2023 reserves, 2023 full-year result, and now an operations update on Q1 2024, and the result of the recent drilling campaign. First, what are your highlights from 2023 result and your year-end reserve?
Yeah, as we look back at 2023, obviously the key highlight for us was closing the acquisition to acquire the assets from Mubadala Energy here in Thailand. And that really left us producing over 20,000 barrels a day of oil production for the rest of the year. So when you look at that, that's moved us up to really the number 2 oil producer in Thailand, just after the NOC, PTTEP. Now then when you look at financially, we entered last year with just under 10 million in net cash. We had some debt. We took on a little more debt to close the deal. But by the end of the year, we had paid off all of that debt and we had actually accumulated more than 150 million US in the bank. Additionally, we'd also managed to improve the balance sheet by reducing the abandonment liabilities by about 30%. So financially, that was good as well. And then really the last thing, reserves, which are the reserves being the future of your assets. We managed to achieve a 219% reserve replacement ratio in 2023.
Wow, so that means you have actually added more than double the oil production in 2023?
That's correct. And when you looked at it, the assets produced about 7.5 million barrels last year, and we actually added over 16 million barrels of new reserves in the year. But importantly, we also have to look at the value, and we took the value of those reserves from about 260 million up to more than 430 million at the end of last year. And it wasn't just in one field, it was actually across the whole portfolio. So every field had a reserve increase. Every field had an extension of its field life, and every field had the value increase. So that was very important. And then we can even look at Wassana as a highlight last year, where the appraisal drilling really increased the reserves at that field, and that's led to a project in 2024 to further develop that field.
So that brings us to 2024, and the company just announced your first set of high-level numbers for this year. What should our audience note from that announcement?
Strong results at the end of 23, and we've really continued that strength into 2024. So the Q1 production was up about 14% to just under 22,000 barrels a day. And that was including, we had shutdowns on 2 of the facilities, planned shutdowns for maintenance. Now with those completed, with drilling at Wassana, we actually exited the quarter with about 23,000 barrels a day net production to us.
How does that production performance compare to your guidance and outlook for the year?
It's obviously, we're very pleased with the big step up, but largely this was on our plan. So we're slightly above our targets at this point. So, it's a good result, but again, this is along with our plan, delivering on our plan.
What about the financial metrics in the Q1 announcement? Can you share your thought on the price realizations, balance sheet, etc.?
Yeah, so first off, I'll just caution that again, we released some very preliminary basic numbers at the end of the quarter. Our full results will come out on May 9th at that point in time. But looking first at price, we got $84.60 US a barrel was the average for the quarter, and that's a slight premium to Brent oil prices. Now, if people have been following oil price, they will have seen that price has continued to increase, and we're now realizing over $90 a barrel. One point to note in the numbers was that the liftings, or our sales, were slightly lower than the previous quarter. And this is just a good time to remind people that because we produce into offshore storage vessels, we sell then in packages, and our actual sales don't always exactly match our production. So last quarter, we were slightly lower in sales, but it's just inventory that's actually built up, and increased inventory, and that gets sold this quarter and unwound. So it's not really a big issue. But when you put the pricing and the sales together, we increased our net cash to 194 million, which is really a material step up from the 151 million we had at the end of the year. And I remind people again, that's actually net cash. We have no debt at this point in time.
So with ongoing strong production and cash in the bank, perhaps you could speak a little about the work program and what you are spending money on in 2024.
Yeah, so we have a drill rig fully signed up to ourselves until August of 2025. So we have a busy drilling campaign planned for this year, and it's focused in several areas. First, we're looking at production growth in the Wassana field. We're looking at production growth at the Nong Yao field. We're looking at some further drilling at Jasmine at Manora to really, slow the declines in those older life assets that exist there. And interesting as well, we've done some exploration drilling this year, and that's something that these assets haven't seen for a number of years. Right, so looking at that in more detail, Wassana, we completed that in Q1, 5 horizontal wells, 2 workovers, and that's really what's led the production increase there to about 5,000 barrels a day from that field. Now we then moved the rig over to drill some exploration wells, and we've drilled 3 exploration well bores since that time. 1 of them in the Nong Yao area, and then 2 north of the Wassana field, and all 3 of those were new oil discoveries. Looking at the Nong Yao one specifically, we found over 30 feet of oil in that well. It was a bit of a mixed result because one of the zones we were looking for did actually not have oil in it, but there was a new zone discovered there. So the team's going to go away with that new oil zone, the results of the well, and then we'll plan further appraisal at Nong Yao D to see when we go back to that. So then the rig moved over to north of the Wassana field and it drilled Niramai 4. Now that's an appraisal well of already discovered oil that's north of the Wassana field called Niramai. That well was successful, found oil there, so we sidetracked that well over into what we call the Wassana North prospect. We have also found oil there, and the results of those 2 wells will be worked up. But these are really going to feed into our Wassana resources and looking at our long-term planning for the Wassana field and the redevelopment, continued development of that field. And then the rig, we've just moved it back to the Nong Yao area. Now we're not going immediately to Nong Yao C development yet. We're going to go back to Nong Yao A and drill 2 wells there. And what I like about that is these wells that we drill will actually come on production very quickly. So with the high oil prices now, we'll get a benefit. And then after those, the plan is to move to Nong Yao C, develop that area, bring those wells on, before then looking to move to Jasmine and Manora later in the year. So a very busy sequence.
Wow. And any other key catalysts you think the market should be watching for?
Yeah, first off, I've kind of talked a couple times about the Wassana redevelopment. So we plan to make a concept selection on that sometime this quarter. And once that's made, we would go into a procurement, a tendering process that should allow us to take an FID decision on that field redevelopment before the end of the year. So that's a key piece of work, and we see that could actually yield additional reserves for that field by year end. Now the other one we're looking at is we have 1 more exploration well to drill, which will be near the Jasmine field, the Rat Tree prospect. It's in an area of the block that's largely untested, so it's a higher risk well, but if it comes in, it's got a much larger upside. So it could be over 20 million barrels of recoverable oil and a new oil development in the area. We're still planning this quarter to complete our corporate restructuring to help with our future tax planning. And I think also importantly is we're going to continue to deliver cash flow, strengthen the balance sheet as we start to look at new M&A activities in the area, and we're very much focused on that.
Sean, thank you very much. Do you have any last takeaways for the audience?
Yeah, the only thing, just like to highlight, just as we conclude, is that we've gone through a real transition on Valeura over the past couple of years, and it's been a very exciting time to take us from, a Turkey exploration play into an oil producer in Thailand. And through that transition, our shareholders have really been rewarded. And we've talked a lot about this over the last year, this transition, the bringing of 3 companies together. But what I really want to highlight right now is that actually we're through that transition. We're not looking back anymore at it. We're actually looking forward. We have a strong balance sheet, we've got strong cash flow, and your management team is looking at the next steps to build on that, to take this company forward, to really deliver that world-leading shareholder return as well as meeting all the needs of our stakeholders, both here in Thailand and beyond. So it's going to be an exciting 2024.
Wow. I'll just repeat one thing you said earlier. In Q1 2024, results are scheduled to be announced on May 9th, which is the same day as Valeura AGM in Calgary. Details are available on the website.
Thank you very much, Annie. Kapten Kap.
And thank you everyone who watched our first ever Studio Valeura production. ขอบคุณค่ะ